Outboard powered sports boats are having somewhat of a resurgence, and Nimbus clearly wants a slice of that pie because this is its new W9 that was launched at the Dusseldorf Boat Show, and we've got it here in Leamington today to put it up against two key rivals, one being the Axopar 28 T-Top Mark II, a boat that really helped to spark the revolution of sports boats with outboards, and then we have the Cormate T27, which is a different proposition. It's retro styling, gorgeous to look at, fearsomely capable hull, but it's an inboard powered petrol boat, a more traditional style sports boat. Let's get them out in the water and see what they can do. The Nimbus W9 comes with three different engine options. You can have a petrol inboard at 350 horsepower, you can have a diesel inboard at 220 horsepower, and there are some outboard options as well up to 350 horsepower. This particular boat has the 300 horsepower Mercury outboard. Top speed 40 knots on the nose, and that means that you can cruise anywhere between sort of 16 and 33 knots, and it feels pretty comfortable at all of those speeds. That said, it certainly feels the heaviest boat of the three we're testing today. It was the slowest out of the whole between this, the Cormate and the Axopar, and it's certainly the slowest to get to the 40 knot top speed as well. In terms of ride and handling, well, you feel the weight in the way the boat goes through the water. It feels solid. There are some slams coming through the hull that we experienced earlier on. It does crash a bit more than the other two, and it isn't quite as poised or as agile as the Cormate or the Axopar. It does cocoon you well though. This is a very nice sheltered driving position. You sit good and low, really well protected by these side screens here. The T-top is also nice and long and opens a good way. You get a big aperture when it's open, and whether you're standing, leaning or sitting, the driving position is superb, as is the dashboard, which is typically clean and classy as you'd expect from a Nimbus. It's really simple, easy to use, and uses nice dark material so there isn't too much glare either. While the W9 is a nice and easy boat to handle at slow speed, thanks to this really smooth as silk throttle action on the Mercury throttle and a super powerful bow thruster, it's quite a difficult boat to crew on your own. It's good that you're hemmed in one way and protected by this coupe style windscreen, but it does make it quite hard to get out to the side decks, especially if you're on the port side. The decks are asymmetric. The starboard side is really good and nice and easy to walk up and down, much more difficult on the port side. Now, like the Axopar 28, the W9 has three distinct body styles. There's the T-top, which is the version we're on now, there's an open version, and there's also a fully enclosed wheelhouse version. What this has that the Axopar doesn't know is the option to have inboard engines, and if you have that, you get a sun pad back here atop the engine box. So as on this boat, you have this two-way cantilevering backrest here, and beneath there is dedicated storage. You also have storage here and here as well, so deck storage is pretty good on this boat. And then the cockpit is by far the most sociable of the three boats here. Okay, it's not as comfortable when you're all travelling along. On the Axopar, for example, you have 5 forward-facing seats, but when you've stopped, this really sociable layout works far better, as to the fact that you have this nice big central table that folds out to double in size, and you have a really decent galley up here on deck as well. W in W9 stands for weekender, and this is without a doubt the most comfortable boat to overnight on out of the three. You have a really good sized berth down here, nice double sized berth with a hatch up in the cabin. There's a good amount of storage for bags underneath the berth here. You have a little bit of hanging storage, heating controls down here, and then crucially you have this separate bathroom. Okay, it's crouching room only, but there's a sea toilet in there, a sink and a bit of storage as well.
So I'm on the Axopar 28, and the big news with this boat is just how much of the entire length of the boat is usable deck space. They've taken it right up here into the bow with this nice dinette area, so you've got your social area just here. And another nice feature they've got is a little bit further back, they've actually put a decent sized heads under the helm console, which is accessed just here. So these walkways either side of the centre console, again, plenty of room to walk around, nice high sides, you feel pretty safe on here. And one nice feature about this particular boat, especially today, it's been a very hot sunny day, is we've actually got the T-top version, so this is giving you masses of shade over this area here. If you're out all day in the sunshine, that is quite an important feature. In terms of this central cockpit area, we're seating across the back here for 4 people, and then your helm and your navigator are at the front just here. But what is quite clever is they've tucked away beneath here a fridge underneath this side, and you've got your sink under the other, so you have got a degree of catering ability here as well. So the final part to talk about is the aft end of this boat. These 4 seats across here, these are standard, but at the back end of the boat you can have either a wet bar behind there, or you can have it completely open, or you can have what this boat has got, and that is a big raised sun pad, and what that gives you is a 2-berth cabin tucked away under here. It looks quite small when you open this, but in actual fact when you get in it, there's plenty of room for 2 adults to lie down. Now here at the helm, the thing that I think is most obvious is this high screen's giving you so much protection, especially with that T-top as well. You do feel like you are out of the elements, and that's true even when you pick the speed up. It's got the 300 horsepower Verado outboard on here from Mercury. That's giving the boat about 40 knots flat out. It's a twin-stepped hull. It'll get onto the plane just about there, which is about 13-14 knots, and run very nicely at that. And you've got at the helm here, you've got these sit-stand seats, and if you sat down like this, you're completely enclosed by this screen. You've got great visibility, but you are protected from the elements. But if you prefer to stand, get the wind in your hair, see a bit more, you can lift the bolster, and suddenly now you can look over the top of it. But what I think this boat does best is you can load it up with your friends. You're all sat in the same sort of area, you're all protected by this, the sun top's keeping the sun off, and it's just a great boat for covering ground, heading on down the coast.
This is the Cormate T27 Supermarine. It's designed by a former powerboat racer, a Norwegian, and it's built in Poland, and it's very much about performance boating. So it's a classic open design, very beautiful lines. It's a lightweight sandwich construction and a properly deep V hull. It's 24.5 degrees at the transom. They're all inboard powered by Mercury's engines. The entry-level engine is a 250 horsepower V6 petrol, and it goes all the way up to a 600 horsepower V8 petrol. But you can get diesels, petrol, anything you like. And even with this, which technically is the entry-level model, costing around £130,000 on the water including VAT, it goes tremendously well. We've just done a quick sprint test and it was the quickest of all of them, even with a 50 horsepower deficit. So Lord knows what it must feel like with that 600 horsepower V8. It's meant to be good for around 70 knots, but even with this V6 we were getting a comfortable 41, 42 knots. It's a very usable design as well. So you've got these lovely bolster seats that flip up and down. You've got a very clean dash design. This Supermarine spec comes with everything you really need to go boating. It includes this nice walnut dash and the Raymarine chart plotter. You've got a proper set of racing throttles here. So you've got the neutral, separate gear lever into gear, and then the throttle itself with the trim on. And it's a very nice simple, clean dash design. Wraparound helm, you've got a nice little lip on the windscreen itself just to throw the air up over your head. But it feels more open, it's not quite as protected, it's a proper open sports boat. But that said, we've been out in some very rough conditions, we haven't had much spray on board at all, and it's coped with it really well. The sandwich foam construction makes it feel nice and solid, that deep V hull cuts through the waves, and it's a really capable boat for a boat of its size. But it's such an agile, easy boat to drive. The power comes in nice and smoothly. The steering has just enough weight so that you can lean into it a bit and feel the hull working. It grips beautifully through the turns, responds very nicely to the trim. You can lift the engine up a fair bit and it just flattens off and you can feel it starting to skip over the surface of the waves. But it's just a very easy, enjoyable boat to drive. It's hard to imagine anyone getting in trouble, certainly with this V6 engine. Admittedly, with the 600 horsepower doing 70 knots, you probably need a better man than me to drive it. But as a usable day boat, it's very, very enjoyable. So even though this isn't a particularly large boat, it's actually a very usable boat. You've got back-to-back seating facing each other. There's a table that stores down below that slots in here so that you can have your lunch out in the open. And there's lots of nice, neat touches. So the teak flooring is all standard. We've got these rather nice little fender pockets that tuck away in here so you can keep them tied on and just flip them over. Got these retractable cleats. And then this seating here, with a very simple flick of that, it transfers across and you've got a nice sunbed with a proper headrest at one end of it. So this whole foredeck area converts into another sun lounging space. There's a big cushion that folds out across here. You've got cup holders at here, cup holders at the helm, cup holders at the back, and a nicely done, properly lined anchor locker. Everything is really nicely finished. It may be a performance boat, but it's also a really usable little weekender. You've got a perfectly good double bed tucked right up in the bow. There's the cushion for the foredeck I mentioned. You've got all the facilities you need. There's a sea toilet in here, more storage space there. On this side we've got a little sink, more storage there, and tucked under the cockpit is the table itself, which comes out, unfolds, slots into position, and you can have your dinner out on the deck. So it may be small, it may be sporty, but there's everything you need here for a couple to spend a very comfortable weekend on board.